This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on the Twitters.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Welcome to the Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show. Each episode, you can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com and find the blog at obsessiveviewer.com. And also come check us out at Indie PopCon, June 26th to the 28th. We'll be recording throughout the weekend and giving away DVDs at the booth, and tickets are available at indiepopcon.com. So, this week we're talking about TV dads?
TV dads.
Yes, because here in a couple weeks it's going to be Father's Day.
Right.
And so, you know.
We both have fathers.
We do.
I think most people do.
Most people do, yeah.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Yep. But before we get to the topic, I want to bring up this brief news item that popped up recently. And this is completely... This isn't intentional, but it's funny because this will be the third week in a row that we've talked about something Stephen King related.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. See what happens, Mike, when you leave the podcast? We turn it into a Stephen King podcast. But anyway, the news is that the Stand adaptation that's going to be made by Josh Boone there's talk, I think it's almost pretty much confirmed, that it's going to have an 8-episode miniseries on Showtime that's going to lead to the movie adaptation.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. And, you know, it's funny, a lot of the comments that I read about this was that they felt like a lot of people were down on it, thinking that it wouldn't be, that it's not a good idea. But, I mean... This goes back to them talking about doing The Dark Tower as a movie and TV show adaptation, coinciding with one another and everything. But this is something that Stephen King's work needs to be this kind of adaptation, this kind of, if not solely on TV, then it needs to have a TV and movie kind of meld.
Mm-hmm.
And plus it'll be on Showtime. And all I kept thinking was 8 episodes... Considering how much story and everything that HBO got into True Detective in the first season, in 8 episodes, I mean, you could really, really do some good stuff with The Stand, in 8 episodes, and then like a 3.5 hour movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, Stephen King stories are innovation can only help Stephen King stories, I guess.
Yeah,
like that's the best way you could do a Stephen King movie is to innovate.
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So hopefully that happens, and hopefully it happens well.
Yes.
But on to our topic of the day. We're talking about TV dads, and this is if we hadn't like discussed this off the air, I would have been like I had in my head, I started laughing at work today because I was thinking like, what I'm going to do when we record is I'm going to just say, today we're talking about TV dads. So these are people that create some of our favorite TV shows. Just to throw you off, just see the look on your face, but I didn't get a chance to do that. But
been funny.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, TV dads are just TV characters that are dads in TV shows. And Tiny, you had a really good idea for how we should do this, so why don't you run with that?
Sure. I was thinking, this is such... There's so many TV dads. There's just too many to count. And so instead of like me listing 3 and you listing 3, that's just too. It's just like too narrow. There's just not enough there. To really dive into this topic. So I decided, why don't we kind of break it down? Why don't we categorize it and break it down into like a couple different categories of a type of dad, or like an archetypical dad that you can. Think about that fits into certain criteria.
Yeah.
And those kind of, I came up with 3, and just kind of, they're kind of the go-to, I guess, kind of like the go-to categories for dads, I think.
Yeah, it's a pretty good like spread.
Yeah.
I was hard pressed to come up with a fourth category.
Yeah.
So, and we have plenty of different dads for each category. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it worked out to 4 each. Nice.
Oh, cool.
So,
but yeah, it's just kind of these categories kind of span different generations too. Like I think, it depends on like if you're talking about a comedy or a drama, if it's a half-hour sitcom, or if it's just like, an hour-long drama on cable. There's there's all kinds of different time periods where you'll see these dads fit into. I'm not explaining that well.
Different
at all.
genres of television,
right?
And different,
right?
Yeah,
and like certain. There's kind of peaks and valleys. Like certain types of dads are popular at certain times across the history of television, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Like it's kind of the same as like now it's kind of trendy to have these kind of dark anti-hero kind of characters,
right.
And that's kind of the same in terms of depicting fatherhood in television. I mean, although for all the meth that he made, Walter White wasn't really depicted as, the fatherhood aspect of his life wasn't really depicted that well. So
right,
yeah,
totally.
So anyway, why don't we go into our subcategories for TV dads?
Sure.
And before we do, I want to just mention that if Mike were still on the podcast and he was still here, that makes it sound like he's dead. If Mike was here, he would bring up, for sure, the father from Parenthood.
Right.
Craig T. Nelson.
Right.
Which I still haven't watched, so.
Reference, did he bring that up in a potpourri? Or was he talking about when he did that, like...
TV dialogue.
TV dialogue,
yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
That was pretty cool when he went
through
that.
It was.
Yeah,
it was good. So anyway, but what is our first subcategory, Tony?
The first category I have, kind-heartedly, with good intent, labeled the idiots. And it's just, you probably know exactly who we're going to reference here. These are the dads that are just kind of the bumbling dummies who, their wives basically have to treat them like a fourth kid or like a third kid, because they're basically just big kids themselves, and they're always getting into hijinks, and they're basically just big dumb kids with money. It's really, it's kind of silly. They can have other aspects. I think sometimes what these shows infuse into these fathers is that they're kind of dumb and they're silly, but they really care about their kids for the most part.
Yeah.
They try to be good dads.
Right. Yeah.
They try to be good dads. Maybe they're not the best dads.
They don't put their immaturity, for lack of a better word, above raising their kids.
Right.
They're just kind of, that's just the dynamic that's established between in the parental units of the household.
But the home run of this category, or the top dog, is obviously Homer Simpson.
The Homer run.
Oh my God, I'm regretting that so much.
The Homer run.
Poor analogy, self.
Yeah, the Simpsons. Simpsons. Homer Simpson.
Yes. Homer Simpson. He chokes Bart a lot.
He does, and it's. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was prepared to go into the kind of this whole like, okay, well, Homer's just this silly dullard of a character who's in its heyday, he commanded a lot of the storylines in the show from his stupidness.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that, because Homer Simpson is very violent.
He is. Which is kind of childish, really. I mean,
yeah, it's very
in a way.
Yeah, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's funny. It's just funny to see the way that it's depicted. I kind of wonder if it would. I haven't seen any of the like late episodes of The Simpsons, but I kind of wonder if him strangling Bart is still part of that that thing, or if it's been kind of phased out, because now it's kind of, we're living in kind of this time frame where it's kind of, I mean, this is going to sound awful. It's not cool to strangle your kids.
Right.
Even for like comedic effect on a cartoon. So I kind of wonder if I wonder if that sensitivity has reached an institution like The Simpsons.
Right. We're like ultra PC now.
Exactly.
Can't have something so unpolitically correct on
TV
anymore. Yeah.
I
wonder myself.
Yeah. But at his heart, Homer Simpson is still a very entertaining person and a good father.
Right.
At times, there's my God, the one episode that like even seeing a screen cap of it on Reddit, on the Simpsons subreddit, kind of just got me a little like choked up a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, there's one scene where it's kind of early in the series. I want to say it's like I don't remember what season, but it's an episode where I can't remember the specifics, but it's like he's questioning I think he's questioning his commitment to his job or something like that, or why he works at the power plant or something. Mm-hmm. And so Mr. Burns, something happens at the end of the episode after having a work-related adventure of potentially losing his job and everything like that. Mr. Burns puts a poster thing on the wall. It may have been a flashback episode, like Maggie's First Word or something like that. Oh no, Maggie's First Word has a different ending that was really touching. It might be the same one. Anyway, I'm all over the place. But anyway, so Mr. Burns puts this poster, this I don't remember what it is, but it's like a poster that just says, "Never forget, you're here forever," or something like this, or "You're doing this forever," or something like that. And what Homer did was he put, like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, but he put up a bunch of pictures of Maggie, all over it, so that it says, "Do it for her."
For her, yeah.
I was like, that's so nice.
That's really sweet, yeah.
In the episode, it may be the same one, but the one with Maggie's First Word, where they're kind of all talking about, I think they're telling flashbacks to when Bart said his first word and Lisa said her first word and all that. And they're trying to get Maggie to talk. And then, like, it just ends on this just very touching moment, because I think if I'm not mistaken, Bart's first word was Homer, and then I want to say Lisa's was Bart. But Homer was depressed because he doesn't get the respect or anything of a father figure. Mm-hmm. And then, like, the episode just ends with Maggie alone in her crib after Homer's put her to bed, and then leaves the room, and she just says "Daddy" or "Dada" or something. Yeah. I was like, God, like that kind of thing is just, it's strong. I love that kind of aspect of that kind of situation in The Simpsons. Those two, and I feel like those two examples kind of encompass the kind of father that Homer Simpson is depicted to be in his more serious moments.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Another one, modern example of a kind of an idiot, bumbling, doofy dad is
modern example.
I didn't even think of that.
I did. Go ahead.
Oh my God, puns! That's so punny. Phil Dunphy from Modern Family.
Modern Family.
Modern.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he totally fits this category. Very different from Homer Simpson, because he's just kind of goofy. He takes his job really seriously and tries really hard at his job, and but he does stuff where, like, he tries to go buy a Porsche, and for whatever reason, or he I don't know, he just does silly he tries to.
He's a goofy character who kind of, he's not. I feel like it may be a disservice to call him an idiot, because he's not an idiot. He's just that's the, like we established when we talked about this category. It's part of the dynamic of the household, is his relationship with Claire.
Yeah.
Is very much defined by his she's kind of a stricter parent, and he's kind of this.
He's aloof.
He's a bit of an oaf, and a bit kind of not dumb, but he's more fun.
Right.
And I think the children in the show, the kids can kind of relate to him more. Although I haven't seen Modern Family in several years, so I haven't seen it since like season 2. But I kind of feel like the connection with the parents the connection between Phil Dunphy and his kids is really well established in those early seasons, and the episodes that I saw, was because he kind of has a connection with Luke. And then as they kind of grow, as you go through the different characters of his children, like it's accurate, because like the oldest daughter is embarrassed by him and all that stuff, and
yeah,
I mean rightfully so, but I mean it's kind of just authentic to a teenager with that kind of dad.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah, he's He's a really fun character too, and there's plenty of examples of him going above and beyond to be a good dad, and that's his primary focus in life. So still a good role model.
Yeah,
in that regard.
And Ty Burrell is just fantastic.
He really is. Yeah, I kind of stopped watching the show regularly as well, but my girlfriend loves it, so
nice.
I'll probably basically be forced to watch it.
Right.
Not that I mind, because I do like the show. I just quit watching it as I just watch reruns and stuff.
He says, knowing that Paige listens to the podcast.
She doesn't really.
Oh, I didn't think so. She did share it on her Facebook page, though.
She did. Nice. She did.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So next,
Tim Taylor.
Yes, Tim the Toolman Taylor.
Classic.
Yes.
Classic. And he
from Home Improvement.
From Home Improvement, yes. Right? 90s.
Taylor. No, I can't.
Really?
I got no pun for that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wow. Again, as opposed to maybe like being an idiot, he's just super clumsy.
Yeah.
But again, he's always doing silly shit like trying to put a V8 on the lawnmower, right. And trying to whatever, I don't know, put a jet engine on the vacuum cleaner and like trying to give it more power.
Jesus.
He's a big kid, but he has the knowledge to do that kind of crazy stuff. Also loves his kids and is always trying to spend time with his kids and take interest in what his kids do. I remember throughout the show, it seems like each one of his kids has their own hobbies and quirks they want to get into. Like I remember the oldest kid, I don't even remember his damn name. Brad in the show.
Brad, yeah.
Zachary Ty Bryan. Don't ask me why I remember.
Yeah.
That. He really gets into soccer.
Right.
And like he ends up getting a scholarship to play soccer in college. But Tim Taylor's more of a football guy. And so he probably wanted his sons to play football. But, he's like, if it makes you happy and you have fun, and he totally supports his son's soccer career and stuff like that.
I wonder. I can't remember. I haven't watched. I haven't watched Home Improvement in several years.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if there was anything about the kind of or how Tim reacted to the youngest son in the show, Mark, I believe.
Yeah.
Kind of going through weird, just strange, like kind of goth phases and stuff. Not that goths are weird or anything.
They're weird.
Hate mail at tiny@obsessiveviewer.com. No, but I can't remember. I would love to go back and check and see how that is depicted, because Tim Taylor was very much a kind of depicted as somewhat of a clumsy man's man.
Yeah.
Like the man's kitchen, the man, like all the segments were the man's whatever, and that may be lazy writing or it may just be an extension of his character, but very much a gearhead, Home Improvement driven kind of person. And I would love to go back and see. Man, I wish the show was on Netflix or Hulu or something, because I would love to see it.
Yeah, well, I remember that the middle kid, the most famous one,
JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I had him read it off of my thigh tattoo.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
I don't know why you're laughing.
I remember his character was like really into like technology, like computers specifically.
Nerd.
Yeah. And like gaming and stuff like that. And Tim Taylor wasn't really into that stuff, but he kind of tried to get into it and understand it because his kid was into it. And so I think he always struggled with Mark. To reference what you were talking about, because he always went through phases and weird crap and did things. I don't remember what all, but yeah, I think that's what he always he always struggled with that kid. But but yeah, like his wife always had to like keep him in check, and he was always doing stupid crap, always getting sent to the hospital, and, which I think is a symptom of the fact that it was a sitcom, a very formulaic sitcom.
Yeah, this Home Improvement, for our young listeners, was at a time when stand-up comics were given sitcom deals, and their shows were built around maybe not built around or influenced from all the time per se, but a large percentage of it was based around the stand-up act, and they were given TV deals and everything. So Home Improvement was basically Tim Allen was a stand-up comic and was given this kind of thing. I believe that's how it started. This was very, very, very common in the 90s, and something that I kind of wish would, happen again. I don't.
Yeah.
It may be more. It may not be as commonplace now, but I feel like there's some equivalent of it today. Maybe not.
Well, Louis.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But that's more of a.
It's not a sitcom. It's smarter show.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It is a situational comedy, I guess, but it's not in the traditional sense. Like.
Right. It's multi-camera and super.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's very. Or it might be single camera. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But he's very, it's very much an exploration of. Granted, this is based on stuff that I've heard and the bits and pieces of it I've seen, but it's very much an exploration of him as a person rather than him in a situation.
Right. Right.
Trying to different things, but yeah.
The last one on the list is Peter Griffin for the idiots,
Yes.
which he's the biggest idiot of them all, I think.
He is
of the ones we've listed, anyways. He's just a big kid.
He is he's the biggest idiot, and I feel like he's the by far the least endearing.
Yes.
Of them.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Least endearing.
Yeah.
Again, doesn't hate his kids. He just he loves his kids, and I think he wants to be a good dad, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just really low on his list of priorities.
It's context based. It's situation based. It's funny you say that he doesn't hate his kids,
except for Meg.
Except for Meg, yeah. But there's also an episode where there's an episode where the news, it's like an April Fool's episode where they say a meteor is coming, and then at the last possible moment when everyone thinks they're about to die, Peter keeps doing throughout this entire countdown. He's been doing all these crazy things, like going to the zoo and freeing a lion or something like that, or riding a lion or some just crazy stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the last possible moment, he's about to go do something else, and then Lois is like, "Why can't you just be here with your family?" And he's like, "I love you. You're the love of my life and all that stuff, but." If I'm being honest, I really can't stand the kids. And then the news, as soon as the countdown ends, the news is like April Fools, and then the rest of the episode is the fallout of him saying that about the kids.
Jeez.
But it's funny because, unlike the Simpsons and the other two shows, Home Improvement and Modern Family in this category, unlike those, Family Guy is more. It's not a show that really delves into the parenthood aspect of it. It's more of the way that I like to look at Family Guy is it's a lot of different kinds of shows wrapped into one. So they have such an ensemble of characters that they have different avenues that they like, different types of episodes that they can have. So it's never really a family drama, or when it is like a family kind of thing, it's kind of almost rare because it's a lot of times it's like a buddy comedy with Brian and Peter,
mm-hmm.
or a sci-fi time travel thing with Brian and Stewie, or all kinds of different kinds of shows. But yeah, it's pretty funny though because he is pretty stupid, and I will say it's weird because this is the show out of these four that I've watched more than any other of the other ones.
Yeah, me too.
Oddly enough, I think. Maybe it's just because it's so accessible, like just
right.
throwing it on the background.
Right, and it was more in our like time period to like it, I guess.
Yeah,
because Modern Family is more geared towards adults, and I'm talking like family adults, like
right,
the 30s and higher or whatever.
Right. He says on the podcast where I'm in 2 weeks about to turn 29, but that's cool.
Well, we're not 30.
Right.
I'm talking, like people who have kids and are married, stuff
absolutely.
like that. And we don't really fall into that category, whereas, Home Improvement, we were kids. The Simpsons,
right.
We weren't even born yet.
Right.
And...
Simpsons we were born.
We were born, but we were newborns. And so Family Guy took off when we were teenagers, and it was so dumb and silly, and it's kind of...
Right.
It just kind of fits the mold for us personally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So those are the idiots. Yeah. Tell us your favorite TV idiot dad, father character. That went all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's our next subcategory for TV dads, Tiny?
The next category I have affectionately called the Disciplinarian Breadwinners, which that would be hashtag free band name. I don't know. But yeah, these are the guys that aren't. They're the opposite of the idiots. They're either super driven and like super, very very ambitious and trying to get things done, or they're as far as their fathering goes, they're disciplinarians. You know, they keep the kids in line, and whenever the kids have problems and want to vent to someone or talk to someone, they go talk to their moms.
Yeah, they're kind of the antithesis to the idiots side, because the idiots are kind of the fun characters that are, while the mother or the other parental unit of it is kind of the disciplinarian and everything.
Right.
But this is the other side of that. These are the kind of tough love kind of fathers, or not really stern, because I mean, it's more they're the ones that are more likely to stand up for their kids, or to kind of come to their kids' aid instead of conferring with their spouse about it, I guess. I don't know. Or letting their spouse take the lead, I guess.
Right.
They're kind of the default lead parent of the unit. So what's the first one, Tiny?
The first one that kind of came to mind for me for this one is Tony Soprano. Just because he was really hard on his kids, mainly because he had to be. Because if you watch that show, the kids are just awful. They're horrible people. They're spoiled, pain in the ass kids. And so Tony Soprano is also the primary breadwinner. I think he goes out, earns the money, so he feels like whatever he says needs to go because he supports the family. And that's kind of a common thing, I think, throughout this thread. And so I think Tony is a great example of this because like I said, his kids suck, and they constantly need to be disciplined and taught how to do things and made to see the proper way to conduct themselves. And Tony's not afraid to do that at all throughout this show. And I think he's such an interesting example because he's a sociopath. And he cares about his kids because he has to, not because he really wants to and because he really loves them. It's because he's like, well, they're my kids. This is what you do. That's how I feel anyways, because, I mean, the guy doesn't care about anyone but himself because he's a sociopath. Or he just at least takes no... I'm not sure if that's really the definition of a sociopath. I think it's just that they only act to serve their own purposes and their own
kind of narcissistic
ideals. Kind of narcissistic, yeah. They feel no remorse about what happens to other people,
right? Stuff
like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he can't love his kids. It just means that he loves his kids because it's something that gives him pleasure,
right?
I guess I don't know, but he was an amazing character. Other than there's a lot of layers to his character. He was more than just a father, but being a father became such a huge part of his character throughout the show. It was kind of more than you would really expect for a gangster show. Because, it's so much about him needing therapy and having these panic attacks and stuff like that. It's about him trying to balance being a gangster with trying to be mentally healthy. But there's just this interesting little side of the show where he really embraces being a father, and it's interesting to watch given the characteristics of Tony Soprano.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He loves driving on the New Jersey Turnpike.
He does.
And smoking cigars, and that's about it. That's all. I've watched like the first 9 episodes of Sopranos. I've always meant to kind of circle back and watch it again, but I kind of lost track of it, but I'll watch it eventually. But I can totally see some of that coming through in the first 9 episodes that I watched. Yeah, and I'll watch it and circle back on it.
Yeah, it's a good show. Nice. I think it's a little overrated.
Really,
just because it was a gangster show and there's boobs in almost every episode.
Right, which is what
someone gets killed in like almost every episode.
Right. My goal was to watch it at the gym. Then I realized it's an HBO show. I can't watch it at the gym.
Right. Not as overrated as Entourage, but somewhat overrated.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
Ugh, I hate you right
Hashtag the boys are back. God. Oh, Entourage. Anyway,
I know.
So the next dad on our list is, dare I say, the best?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Should I introduce him? Or?
I'll go for it.
Okay. Coach Eric Tyler.
Coach Tyler.
He is the father of Julie Taylor.
I couldn't think. I had no idea.
Amy Teagarden on Friday Night Lights, and he's also a father figure to all of the youths that he coaches throughout the 5 seasons of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this just speaks so much to Kyle Chandler as an actor, but he is just fit for that role so well. Like he's got this kind of firm mannerisms and kind of a no nonsense approach, but he's very approachable, and he's very warm in scenes where he needs to be. And talk about just an actor just tackling his character. I mean, he embodies this role so well. Like, I want him to be my dad.
Jeez.
Which I've said to people before, and then they thought that I wanted him to be my daddy, but
oh my God,
that's a whole other thing.
That's only on the weekends.
Yeah. That was a very awkward situation, awkward conversation. But anyway, Coach Taylor, he's for a show that is at times a bit melodramatic.
Yeah.
He makes me want to rewatch the series from the beginning at some point. He's really good.
He is, yeah, and he is a disciplinarian because he's kind of hard on Julie. Like he expects a lot out of her, and when she screws up, he's really tough on her, and he is the breadwinner. I mean, there's a ton of the show is about, how they're going to afford things, and his wife is pregnant at some point. Is that in the first?
Oh yeah, that's right. She has another kid. They have another kid.
Yeah.
I think that's toward the end of season 1. I think
that sounds right. It's every family show has to have a pregnancy in it.
Right. Yeah.
The writers are like, oh God, it's the end of the season. What the hell are you going to do? Someone's going to get pregnant. Because there's like 4 pregnancies in that show.
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe not that many.
Yeah, I don't remember. There's a lot. I mean, it's a primetime drama,
right?
Like kind of
basic, network drama.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's really good though. I really like it. I think I liked it a lot more than you did, Tiny. But something about it, I really, really enjoyed it. And Eric Taylor is at the center of the reason why. Kyle Chandler's performance is astounding.
Yeah, and I can't really knock it. Like I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I didn't like this about it, This is what's wrong with it. It has this problem. That's not how I feel about it. I think it's a good show.
Yeah.
I understand why people like it. I just didn't think it was amazing. There's so many people who just talk about overrated. So many people consider it like to be one of the best shows of all time.
Oh yeah.
I don't see that.
I definitely agree. There's a blurb on the back of like the DVD set for the entire series that before I saw it, I was like, oh, come on, guys. Because the blurb said something like potentially the best drama in TV history. I was like, whoa.
Simmer down.
Yeah. And after watching, I'm like, okay, you got to pump the brakes on the hyperbole there. But it is in its own right. It is a very, very good show, and it achieves what it sets out to do, which is have a very well put together drama about small town people and football sometimes.
The footballs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Although I will say that a couple weeks ago, I actually went back and read my review of the whole series that I wrote like way back when. And I'd forgotten that there's a lot of plot lines that are just completely unresolved and completely just left hanging. There's like a couple characters like throughout the series at different times that are introduced as potential like antagonists for the show, for the arc, for the season, and then are just completely forgotten and dropped and never talked about again. So it's kind of sloppy in that respect, but the finished product though is definitely worth watching for sure, and I really, really enjoyed it for what it was.
Me too.
Yeah. And it makes me really want Taylor Kitsch to break out and have a good career. At this point, I just really want Taylor Kitsch to just pay his bills. I mean, I want him to be that level of success. Which here in a couple weeks they're about to premiere season 2 of True Detective, and he's one of the main characters in it. So hopefully that is his breakout performance. But
yeah,
we'll see.
We keep saying that.
We do, yeah. Hopefully Battleship is his
yeah.
Just kidding. So, do you mind if I also take the reins on the
you have to, because I haven't seen it.
Right. So, he is this next one is the only character who's not an actual father. But I'm letting him in on this list because he's such a dad. It's Agent Phil Coulson, played by Clark Gregg on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And for people who have only seen Coulson in the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, when he was resurrected for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they basically put him in charge of a kind of ragtag team of agents, and they go on adventures and everything every week. But the thing that I really love about the characterization of Coulson in the show is that he is a dad. He's like, he tells corny jokes. He's very stern. He's very like the entry point for the show for us is the character of Skye, who's introduced as an adversary but kind of a hacker, kind of person who's against S.H.I.E.L.D. and then joins S.H.I.E.L.D. and becomes a big part of S.H.I.E.L.D. But a lot of the dynamic between Skye and Coulson throughout the 2 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that she is a lost child, essentially. Like, she has this whole backstory where she doesn't have a family. She's the reason that she's so involved with getting to the bottom of the secrets of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything is because she's looking for her family and all that stuff. So throughout the course of the 2 seasons, Coulson becomes a surrogate father for her. And it's really, people, I know that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. probably isn't on a lot of people's radar that are, if they don't watch it, it's probably not on the radar is the way I'd put it. And I mean, that's within, I can understand not having it on your radar and not wanting to see it, even if you're a fan of the Marvel movies and everything. But I really think that it shouldn't be discounted as just a cheesy action show that's used to market the movies, because it's in its own right. It is a very, very good show, and it has a lot of the heart rests in Coulson and the characterization of Coulson and how he is this father type figure. And there's an arc in season 2, which is actually, it's worth mentioning. It's about to come up on Netflix like within this month, I think, which is just the quick turnaround, because it had its season finale like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Huh. And I thought that was really interesting that they're having that quick turnaround to put it on Netflix. But so anyway, there was an arc throughout the 2nd season where Skye's father, biological father, actually is in the show, and played by Kyle MacLachlan. He's fantastic. But there's a dynamic between, it's almost like a fight for, and this isn't really a spoiler or anything, but it's kind of a fight for the affections of Skye, or the it's hard to say, but it's like she's fighting, like they're fighting for her affection and they're each fighting to get her on their side. And it's really satisfying the way that it all plays out toward the end of the season, and it ends on such a nice note that it's a really great extension of the fatherly characterization of Coulson and his relationship with Skye throughout the 2 seasons. It's really great growth for the 2 characters.
Nice.
Yeah. Whew. Also, Chloe Bennett is just beautiful. Yeah.
She'll be a good dad someday.
I don't. Yeah. So.
Last on the list for our Disciplinarian Breadwinners is Michael Bluth. And it's kind of funny because he's in this category and he fits in this category, but it sort of seems like he doesn't, because he doesn't seem to really have to discipline his son very much. He has to discipline his other family members.
That's true.
His dad, his mom, his other brothers, his sister, brother-in-law. They're just morons and crazy people. And he's constantly having to reel them in and discipline them and try to keep them in line. But ironically, his son is pretty straight-laced and like does things by the book, you know, Mr. Manager.
Yeah. And when he does have to discipline George Michael, it blows up in his face. It's just ridiculous. I love the character of Michael Bluth so much.
Right. He has to act as the patriarch of this family when his dad should be the patriarch.
Right.
But he's in jail, and Michael is the only one who works to keep the family afloat and together, and he actually tries really hard to keep the company going because his entire family relies on this company being successful.
Right. And that's like really just the entry point for the series too.
Yeah.
Like the dynamics and at play change throughout the different seasons, and Michael's still kind of the figurehead. Season 4's Michael's a little. Season 4, I need to watch again. I need to revisit season 4, but he becomes less likable, and he's less of the not that Michael Bluth was really the straight guy of the show. He kind of was to an extent, but there were flourishes where he becomes a Bluth. Like it's really good the way that it's written, is that he has moments where you can tell like he's not like this straight-laced guy who's like the normal guy of it. He's the normal guy, but he also is a Bluth who is prone to these lapses of self-awareness
and judgment Yeah, he's a really fun pick for this this category, because he's such a nice guy, and just and he seems like he just doesn't. He's very hardworking, but I don't know. It's just it's a different dynamic because he's a single parent, and he's not really. It's not so much about him bringing home the bread for his son. It's about his whole family.
Right.
It's just such a fun dynamic.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. And Netflix they just announced, I think they officially announced that they're coming back for like another, I want to say 15 episode season.
Wow.
It should be like next year, I think. I think next year may be when they film it. But yeah, there's been talk, and it's been pretty much confirmed completely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we have one more like category of 4 different dads. Do you want to introduce them?
Sure. The last category is kind of the classic one. It's the wholesome dad. This is kind of where TV launched from, as far as like family-based shows. You kind of had these wholesome dads who were just, you know, the classic, you know, get up, go to work, and every single problem that your family hits, he handles it splendidly, and it's someone that the kids can look up to, and you know, a real like Ward Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver. That's the quintessential wholesome dad. I would have him on this list, but I never watched Leave It to Beaver.
I watched like one episode on Netflix, really? like a year and a half ago or something. It's funny. This is a slight tangent, but kind of the black and white like 50s era kind of. I think it's set in the 50s, but I think it was made in like the 60s.
Maybe.
I don't remember, but anyway, that kind of aesthetic and everything. It just. And this is such a weird comparison to make, but it reminded me a lot. I had like flashes to the game Fallout 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like one part in Fallout 3 where it's like in a VR simulator thing where you're in like a 50s kind of thing. And
I remember that.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like that's where my brain connected to it. But I would love to go back and watch some of that.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the wholesome dad who has an answer for everything and just handles everything perfectly, and he's a perfect role model for his kids, and for you know, they're who you point to as like a model father. And I think maybe I put Jay Pritchett on here.
I was gonna fight you on this one.
And you know, I think the reason I put him on here is because he seems like the biggest moral direction of the show. like I feel like anytime
From Modern Family, if you're not familiar.
From Modern Family, yeah, sorry.
That's fine.
Played by Ed O'Neill, very perfectly. He's just fantastic.
Oh, he's amazing.
I love Ed O'Neill on this show so much. Really, there's not a weak character on that whole show, but he's one of my favorites, and he's actually very similar to my girlfriend's dad. It's pretty funny. Anyways, because Jay is he's actually pretty imperfect on the show. He screws up a lot, but not to an idiot level dad like Homer Simpson or Peter Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll just make small mistakes, and it leads to some minor but very entertaining catastrophes. So he's not really wholesome in the classic sense like some of the other examples that we have for this. But I feel like he is just the moral compass of the show. He's constantly, whenever there's a question of, is this right or wrong? It feels like Jay has the heaviest input in that episode. And
I wonder if that's like a generational thing, because he's kind of that's my go-to with Jay Pritchett and granted I've only seen the first 2 seasons really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that show.
It's still very good.
Nice.
Yeah. But
he kind of seems the kind of analog dad in the digital world kind of archetype, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that there is some wholesomeness to him there, but it's more of a kind of old school variety, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's my take on it.
I always think of the episode where, I think it was in the first season, where Manny's dad comes to visit. And he's played by, what's his face? I can't think of the actor.
I can't think
Hispanic actor. I can't think of his name. Brett Ratner? That's a director.
That's a director.
I don't know why I thought that. Anyways.
Anyway.
And it turns out that he's supposed to go on this event with Manny. I can't remember what they're supposed to do, but they're supposed to go do something, and he ends up ditching Manny and taking off and doing something else. And there's just this really nice, moment where Jay Pritchett is talking to the camera, and he's like, one of the biggest things about being a good father is you just have to show up. You just have to be there. And when Manny's all distraught and sad about the fact that his biological father's not there to take him on this trip, Jay shows up and makes Manny feel better. And I always think of that when I think of Jay, and there's a handful or several examples of Jay doing something like that throughout all the different seasons of Modern Family. So that's why I thought of him for this, even though he's not really a perfectly wholesome dad. I don't know if I'd point to the word wholesome. I mean, he married like a woman who's half his age,
right?
Because he basically got a trophy wife. So that's not exactly the most noteworthy thing or the most moral thing, I guess. But
right.
But I still think he's, in a way, you can kind of shoehorn him into this category, like
sure.
I just tried to do. So,
and I won't give you any fight on that.
Yeah. Gosh, why can't I think of his name?
Benjamin Bratt.
Benjamin Bratt. Okay.
So yeah, it's Benjamin Bratt.
Okay.
So yeah, these next two I've got. Go ahead, take the reins. Yeah.
I don't have a lot to say about them. These are this is the oldest show on this the whole show that we're talking about, the whole list. Andy Griffith, from the Andy Griffith Show. He's absolutely the wholesome dad. I mean, the guy is the sheriff of Mayberry. He's a cop. He is the guy who Opie always comes to Dad when he has a problem, and Dad always has a solution. He's one of those kind of dads. He keeps all the other characters in the show in line, and he's the moral compass. He's the strong, silent type. I haven't watched a ton of Andy Griffith.
Me neither. It's also on Netflix as well.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. But yeah, it's just.
But those. Sorry. I was just gonna say those shows have like 30 episode seasons and like.
Oh, do they really?
It's kind of insane.
Jeez.
But anyway, what were you gonna say?
I don't think I need to talk about him that much because he's Andy Griffith. I mean, he's the definition of a wholesome dad. Especially for a certain generation. That's just how. And Andy Griffith show is kind of timeless. I mean, I remember watching it as a kid and being like, "Oh, this is fun," even though it's in black and white and it was 50 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever? Nice. Did you ever go to the Mayberry Cafe here in Indianapolis?
Never.
It's like in Danville.
Never been.
Oh, I don't know if it's still there or not, but I remember going a long time ago and thinking, oh, it's cool. It didn't really make me want to watch the show, but
okay.
Like they have an old style police car outside. It's
right,
cool.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So I can't really comment on it. I think my dad really liked this show.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, it's an institution.
Yeah.
The next one is kind of an update of Andy Griffith, at least in my opinion. Cliff Huxtable from the Bill Cosby Show.
Did Andy Griffith rape a lot of people?
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow. Yeah, the timeliness of this is not great. The character was wholesome, not the actor.
Right.
And he really was. He was a doctor. Yeah, he was Dr. Huxtable. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a doctor, always wore the nice sweaters. He just looked like a wholesome guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he more updated version. It's, he's like it's a black family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun show, and it's interesting because it really crossed race lines. Like no one cared that it was a black family, it's
Right.
even though it was the 80s and, not like racism was a huge, it wasn't like in the 60s or whatever before we had the civil rights. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not like where everyone was a huge racist, but still there wasn't just a lot of, it seems like there was still a lot of division across race lines, but this show didn't have that problem, but it had a huge, mixed race audience. And Dr. Huxtable was just like, he's so like Andy Griffith. He was just the go-to guy. The kids were always coming to dad for their problems, and mom was more the disciplinarian. He's just such a relatable guy.
Nice.
Dr. Huxtable. Yeah, I don't think I need to defend this one very much either.
Yeah, I don't think so
talk
either.
it up much. Like I said, unfortunately, some things about Bill Cosby have come to light that cast an unfortunate shadow on this show and the character of Dr. Huxtable. But I don't think, regardless of what he does, I don't think he can ruin that work really.
Right.
Because it wasn't just his. It was a whole team of writers, and so yeah. If we look past that, I still think that he's an awesome example of a wholesome dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I introduce the last one? This is the last one on our whole list, actually. This is kind of for me at least, this is kind of the character, the person you think of when you think TV dads.
Yeah.
Danny Tanner, played by Bob Saget on
have you
Full
ever
House.
sucked dick for weed?
Does he say weed or coke?
Well, he says, have you, like, he asked him, like, oh, yeah, it's addictive. Have you ever sucked dick for weed, man?
Oh, okay.
And
there
he's like, I have. I sucked dick for coke. Or, I think he asked him that. I don't know.
Full House is so different than I remember it.
Yeah. That's from the movie Half Baked.
Right,
if you couldn't remember.
But, it's funny. The timeliness of this is interesting because I kind of recently have been listening to the Everywhere You Look podcast.
Oh my God!
That it's a husband and wife. They do episode by episode podcast dissecting Full House from the beginning.
Wow!
And it's really, really funny.
Is it really?
No, yeah, it's hilarious.
Nice.
They kind of it's interesting because they're viewing it through the lens of adults who can't really, like, the show isn't made for them currently.
Yeah.
Like, they're our age, and they're watching it as like, and they're seeing like, okay, well, like in the early episodes of the podcast, the Tom, the male host of the two, he posits that Joey Gladstone is mentally disabled, and and it's backed up pretty consistently.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So check out Everywhere You Look podcast. Bonus, they are somewhere in Indiana, so that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, but anyway, Danny Tanner, he embodies the wholesome father on television archetype for at least our generation. Because I don't know about you, Tiny, but I remember just watching the show. I mean, as a kid, it just constantly, and I mean, every episode had a Danny Tanner kind of monologue where he basically breaks down the what the events of the episode needs to impart on his daughters, and kind of this kind of a hokey like wrap up monologue that's very heartfelt and everything like that. And it's the show it doesn't really stand up well, but it's the quintessential wholesome show for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Danny Tanner is always, he's like a perfectionist, and he's always keeping things clean, and he's always, everything's he's always obsessive compulsive about everything.
Right.
Yeah. He's arguably the most wholesome, even maybe above Andy Griffith, but I don't know about that. But yeah, he's the Andy Griffith of the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is so funny if you watch Bob Saget's stand-up. He just, Matt talked about how in the 90s, stand-up comics would get their own sitcoms based around their act a little bit, and kind of following the categories and the characteristics of the comic. They'd build a show around it. Well, this is not one of those cases,
right?
Because Bob Saget is very dirty and just really a crazy guy, and he's nothing at all like Danny Tanner. So it's pretty funny. Yeah. I used to watch Full House all the time. Yeah.
I was telling a friend of mine, Sam, he's one of the contributors on Obsessive Book Nerd. We were talking about Full House, and I swear, like, seriously, if Full House, I will say this right now, if Full House is put on Netflix from beginning to end, the entire series, I will binge watch the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And then with or without you, Tiny, we'll have Sam on the podcast to talk about Full House. He has like an encyclopedic knowledge of Full House.
Yeah.
And he is a huge fan of it. And I would love to, have an entire episode dedicated to this show.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So look for that in the future. If, email Netflix and tell them that you want Full House on Netflix.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So that does it for our TV dads discussion.
Yep.
There was a. Okay, this will be fun. We're both 28.
Yes.
And I'm about to turn 29. Neither of us have kids that we know about. Which dad do you feel like you'll be? Which kind of dad?
Probably.
Assuming you have kids, I don't know.
I'll probably have kids.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have kids.
Nice. Matt is a great name.
Jay Pritchett.
Nice.
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah. Do
you have any idea what you'll name your kids? I'm seriously concerned that you'll steal my son's name.
No.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to have any say in it. My wife will pick them.
Okay, good.
I don't really care.
She's never read The Dark Tower, has she?
Probably not.
Okay, good. Okay, keep it that way.
How about you?
Well, when I have kids, I think that little Roland Edwin Hurt will he'll have a father that's I don't know. I feel like I would be more the, I don't know what this says about me, but the idiot type.
Okay.
I don't know. It depends on who I marry.
You would be so Phil Dunphy.
It really. Thank you.
Yeah.
It really depends on what kind of mother Jennifer Lawrence is.
Nice.
Going to be. Please return my calls and my emails and my letters that I send you written in my blood.
Oh my God.
This went to a dark place. So let's go to Potpourri.
Yes.
If this is your first time listening, this is our section of the episode where we talk about anything we want as long as it smells good. It's pretty much anything that we're wanting to watch, anything like that. And usually what I've been doing is I've been bringing up different things from different media services that I've been using. But this time I only have two things. And I'll get us kicked off by talking about a Netflix original series. Sense8. It was just released on June 5th. I watched the first episode. It's from the Wachowskis and J. Michael Straczynski. Straczynski. He was the guy behind Babylon 5.
Oh, okay.
He's written a lot of stuff. But anyway, so this show is a sci-fi series. It's a Netflix original series where these 8 people are all kind of interconnected with this are all mentally interconnected. So it's kind of this kind of where they can each kind of interact with each other's mind and get kind of their different abilities and transport to each other's locations. I guess, I don't know, but the first episode, I only watched the first episode. It's an hour and 5 minutes long, but it's kind of promising. It's the writing is the dialogue felt a little flat in places.
Okay.
And it really throws a lot of different characters at you and all in one fell swoop, and it's kind of gets a little difficult to really latch onto what's going on because you're so busy kind of keeping track of all of these different characters. And you, with so many characters being introduced, you only get like a finite amount of time with each one, and it's kind of hard to latch onto. Some of them I didn't really care that much about. Others I kind of latched onto. Like there's a cop character. There's one part that bugged me, and this is nitpicking at best, but there's one part where one of the Sense8s, he is a police officer in Chicago, and he and his partner are going. It's not really that clear what they're doing, unless I missed something, because like I said, it's a very muddled show, at least in that first episode. But they go through like this kind of really ghetto kind of area, like this very high drug, high crime area. And they're going through this building for whatever reason, and the guy comes across this kid that's been shot. And he's there. This just rubbed me the wrong way. That the kid is sitting there on the ground, shot with a wound, an open gunshot wound in his side. And the cop turns to his partner and he's like, "Call an ambulance." And then the partner says, "Are you serious? What do you think? This is TV? No ambulance is going to come down here." I'm like, what? that makes no sense. And then so the cop has the kid put pressure on the wound and then picks him up to take him to the car. And then the whole time the guy's like, "What are you doing, Gorinsky or Gorosky or whatever?" I'm like, he's saving a kid's life, you dick. I don't understand. And then when they get to the hospital, like one of the nurses is like, "Oh no, we don't treat gunshot wounds here anymore."
What?
Because we don't have the. I think that it was like we don't have the resources to, and it's very. I didn't like that. That would have made me. If the premise wasn't so interesting to me, I would have given up on the show on that basis. Because after the kid is, spoiler alert, after the kid is out of surgery and everything. The nurse comes back to the cop and she's like, "Well, what if you saved him? So what if he grows up and he kills someone and kills a cop or something?"
Jeez,
I'm like,
what the hell?
Like what happened? Like this isn't the Chicago that our friend Mike White knows and loves.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And it's such, and that's one of the main problems I have is the writing just wasn't there for me in that first episode. But like I said, the premise is so interesting. We have these 8 kind of this ensemble of characters that all have their own things going on that are all bound together. And maybe that's my Lost fandom coming into play a little bit.
Okay.
Not that I'm saying that this has a chance to be anything like Lost, because judging from that first episode, I mean, I don't know. It's a little muddled, but it has some potential. I'm not going to judge it based on this first episode, but it didn't inspire a lot of confidence. But what confidence it did inspire, its high points were the high points of the episode could make for great television if they are explored fully throughout the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
I didn't think that was coming out this year. I thought it was like next year or something like that.
Nope. June 5th.
Nice.
And features Naveen Andrews from Lost.
Sweet.
He's the only notable person that I've ever seen in anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you got for Potpourri?
Cool. I wanted to talk about this the show last week tonight with John Oliver. There were a couple of really funny segments. It was in the news that the organization FIFA, which is soccer, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know a lot about the controversy that happened. Okay. I know a bunch of top officials with that organization were arrested.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, for various reasons. John Oliver has a personal vendetta against FIFA because he thinks it's the most corrupt sports organization in the world. It's supposed to be a non-profit organization, but they make like billions of dollars every year. they sponsor and run the World Cup every 4 years, which it has turned into an event that is just hugely exploitative of wherever it's held. Which I believe it was held in Brazil, I want to say. Was it Brazil? I think it was Brazil, South Africa. It was held in South Africa most recently, I believe. And, they had to build like 6 stadiums for it or something.
Oh, wow.
And the biggest one, like the Granddaddy Stadium, is just sitting there empty now.
Oh, wow.
And they don't have anything to do with it. There's just nothing to do with it.
Huh.
They can't get anything to happen inside that, so that, tens of millions of, probably hundreds, close to $1 billion stadium is just sitting there, and it's not doing any good for anybody.
Jeez.
And FIFA just pulled all the money out of that event, and just very little of it was put back into South Africa to support its infrastructure. So it's just a very exploitative organization. And so John Oliver talks a lot of shit about him, and so whenever this happened, he was just so happy. And he wants it to lead to the absolute tumble of FIFA.
Oh, wow.
And so the reason why I loved this so much is because he was so smart about this. He cut right to how he cut to the most important thing, being money. Mm-hmm. What he did is he on his show, he spoke to all the sponsors. He was like, look, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Budweiser, I can't remember what the other one was, but he was like, you need to talk to FIFA and pull your sponsorship unless they start making some major changes. And he was like, Adidas, if you pull your sponsorship, I will wear one of your hideously ugly outfits, your shoes or whatever. He was like, Budweiser, I will on this show publicly consume one of your beverages and say it's delicious. It could be a Bud Light. It could even be a Bud Light Lime. and just I'm really not doing it justice. You have to go look up the video. It's so funny. And so that was when all this FIFA stuff was going on, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Well, the president of FIFA ended up resigning.
Oh, wow.
And he really hated this guy. I think he was like Swedish or something. And so this past week when he was on, he was like, well, a promise is a promise. And so he ended McDonald's was the other sponsor. He said he made them a bet. He was like, Adidas, I'll wear your shoes. McDonald's, I will take one bite of every item on your dollar menu. Oh my God. And Budweiser, I will chug a Bud Light Lime and say it's delicious.
Wow.
And he made good on his bet. He wore these awful, hideous Adidas shoes on the show, and he took a bite of everything, and then he actually chugged a Bud Light Lime and called it delicious on the show.
That's awesome.
It was glorious. And like he compared the taste of Bud Light Lime to the ejaculate of the Jolly Green Giant.
Oh, that's terrific.
It was so funny. I highly recommend checking out the videos because it's hugely entertaining and funny, but it's also really, really clever and I think he, in some small way or maybe a big way, he contributed to sponsorship being pulled from FIFA. I really think he did. And it's just, he actually did something. I mean, it was so fun to watch. I highly recommend checking out the videos.
Nice.
It was really funny.
If I'm not mistaken, I could very well be mistaken. I'm going off of a Reddit comment that I saw the other day. I believe that pretty much all of Last Week Tonight's stuff is available on YouTube.
Oh, is it?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'll dig up the links to this stuff and then put it in the show notes for easy access. But
nice.
That's another aspect of it that I think is really interesting. That if that's true, he's it's cool that they put that stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. I haven't watched his show, but from what I hear, he's crushing it.
That's what I hear too.
Yeah, the show is fantastic. That's what I hear. So.
I think a lot of the good aspect of that is that it's a weekly show, so it's not like the pressure of doing a nightly show.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and round us out for Potpourri for this episode. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I've been watching lately is, among a couple other things, but this is the one that I want to talk about. And I know I've talked about it before, but Star Trek. and I've got about 6 episodes left in season 2. And I'll preface this by saying that I was really proud of what I put in the pod chat to you guys the other day.
Yeah,
because for those listening, I'm planning a just ridiculously ambitious review series of Star Trek everything. So like I'm doing the original series, every incarnation of the series to date, except for the Star Trek Continues web series that's going on currently. But anyway, every incarnation of the show and movies and everything, I have it all listed, and I'm going to review a season by season review and movie by movie review and everything. And I added to that a supplemental reviews of the Blu-ray box sets for the original motion picture collection on Blu-ray and the Next Generation Blu-ray collection movie set. So I recently went ahead and just bought the I bought the original motion picture collection set. So I posted a picture in the pod chat and with it side by side with the Star Wars collection saying you know what, I'm going to dig it up.
I know you're going to do that.
Yep.
Classic Matt. You have all your sci-fi on that shelf.
I do.
A bunch of sci-fi.
Thank you for noticing that.
Yeah.
Painstaking. Not really, but yeah. It's not really only sci-fi, it's all my space
right.
Sci-fi, except for after Inception, after that it's all space sci-fi.
Right.
Except for Guardians, which Guardians is with my Marvel stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously. So I posted a picture in the pod chat of the Star Trek, the original motion picture collection set, which has the first 6 movies in the Star Trek franchise. That all has the original cast. And then right next to the Star Wars Complete Saga collection, which has the 6 movies. Yeah. So I put, hey guys, check out my Blu-ray set of 6 sci-fi movies that are super influential to the sci-fi genre and respected by movie fans. Oh, and there's my Star Wars Blu-ray set also. So anyway, that's a really long way to do that, and I might cut all of that out because what I want to talk about is how much I f***ing love Star Trek.
Really?
Like, it is, we make a lot of jokes about the supposed dueling of Star Trek fans versus Star Wars fans, and some people, like the people who take that seriously, are ridiculous. Like it's, I think Mike mentioned this on a previous episode a long time ago, but they're incomparable because Star Trek is so much better.
Wow.
I wouldn't go so far as to say so much better. It's so much more to my liking. Okay, so last week when we had Fecus on for the Poltergeist episode, was that last week?
Yep.
Yeah. For the Poltergeist episode, he and I were having a conversation before we were recording where I mentioned I was watching Star Trek and he said that he has never watched it but he's always wanted to. If you're listening to this and you're in that position, watch Star Trek because it's, the original series, what I've seen of it, it's dated, it's cheesy. It's really nice that Netflix has the remastered versions because the scenes of the Enterprise in space and everything, they really updated the visuals for it, so it's all computer animated and everything, so it really pops. What resonates with me with Star Trek is that it does what great science fiction does. It tells human stories about the human condition under the umbrella of the science fiction world, and it uses this science fiction as a vessel to kind of really show what humanity is really like. It's so smart that way. It's so smart that way. Showing Kirk and Spock and Bones and the crew going to a civilization that's still primitive, and they're the prime directive is don't interfere with this culture and everything. But Kirk, this is all referencing one episode, but he goes to this. He finds a friend and everything. He finds out that the Klingons have supplied the opposing tribe with guns, like flintlock guns. And so the whole episode is Kirk and Bones arguing over whether or not they should supply the other side, which are really like pacifist guys with these with weapons, and it's just really, I'm not doing it justice, but it's so satisfying to see these kinds of things play out on TV on a episode by episode basis, like these kinds of like very dense with philosophy and
sounds like morality too. I mean.
Yeah, morality and like just like I'm I had a whole fucking speech and everything in my head, and I kind of just I'm kind of freeballing in here, but it's so satisfying to see Star Trek really explore human nature as a whole in these very unique ways, and tell these morality tales and these philosophical tales, and just espousing on what it is to be a human being, and what it is to be compassionate, and what it is to be like, you know, evil. And it's so much more dense than I ever really imagined it would be. And it's so satisfying, and kind of the stuff that they get into is really also, there's a lot of humor to it. Like there's one episode that's just it's called A Piece of the Action, where the Enterprise goes to a planet that a previous starship has been to like 100 years in the past or something. I don't remember. But they left behind something, or they left behind. It's believed that the ship influenced the culture of the planet in a negative way. So they're going to basically reverse it, I guess, or fix it and everything.
Troubleshoot.
Pretty much. They're going to see how big of a ripple it caused. But the world that they go to is the other starship had left a bunch of books, and the one book that they latched onto, that the society of the entire planet latched onto as a Bible for how they should pattern their entire culture for the planet, is a book about 1920s gangsters from Chicago. So everyone's walking around with like Tommy guns, and they're talking like in nice suits, and they're all like, it's all like, there's no government in the entire planet. It's all just territories of different gangsters and stuff. And then it reaches a point where Kirk and Spock they put on like the attire of 20s gangsters, and then they basically go to get all of the gangs together, and they're like, all right, the Federation is taking over. And they put on these kind of, you know, fake 20s accents. It's such a riot, but
that's funny. Yeah,
but I can't speak highly enough about my experience watching Star Trek, and I'm really excited to watch more of it. It's so good. And I feel like people that blindly, I don't know if anyone listening to this podcast is of the mindset where they'll be like, well, I love Star Wars, so I'm not going to watch Star Trek. I don't know if anyone's like that, but if you are, don't. It's a wildly different thing, and it's so satisfying.
Nice.
And it makes me nervous for when I go back to watch the J.J. Abrams movies, because it has retroactively made me a little hesitant to watch those movies, because those movies, while super entertaining and super accessible, and what made me really interested in watching Star Trek and everything, they are not in keeping with what Star Trek, as I've come to learn about it in the first 2 seasons of the original series, is about. And that really kind of troubles me a little bit. So
okay.
I love Star Trek.
I'd like to watch it someday.
Do it now.
Someday. Okay.
So, all right. Well, that about does it for us. Watch Star Trek, and that's
Star
about
Wars
it.
rules. Okay.
No, it really doesn't.
It does.
That's okay. That's okay. It's just, a good versus evil thing, and Star Trek just encompasses all of humanity. So, okay. Well, thank you for listening.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Like certain types of dads are popular at certain times across the history of television, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Like, kind of, I don't know about anymore, but I mean, it's kind of similar as having it's kind of the same as like now it's kind of trendy to have these kind of dark.
As always, loyal listeners, thank you for listening to the Obsessive Viewer podcast. And thank you, of course, to Loud Like for providing our awesome opening theme music. Their first EP, their first of the few actually coming out in the next few months. Check them out. Anyway, it's called Mistakes We Must Make and features our theme song and a clips of events. Make sure that you rate and review us on iTunes after you listen to this episode. It helps us out a lot, and it gives us the ability to say, hey, people like us. Also, please like our Facebook page at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, and you can follow each of us on Twitter. You can find Matt at Obsessive Viewer, Tiny is Obsessive Tiny, and me, Mike, I'm at I am Mike White on Twitter. You can also check out the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where all three of us, but mostly Matt, review movies and TV shows and talk about all kinds of things. It's kind of the written form of this podcast. You can also check out Obsessive Book Nerd, which has book reviews and commentary on the evolving world of reading. And also check out Tiny's The Secular Perspective, which is a podcast exploring the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. If you have any thoughts on the podcast in general, or this particular podcast you just listened to, or even suggestions for future podcasts, please email us individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at obsessiveviewer.com, or you can just email the podcast directly as a whole, kind of directed to all three of us, at podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.